really a
Banning
good time.
Australian coal
Scary
into
thing. So
Asia, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Why do they ban Australian coal? Maybe we'll find
I
out.
don't know.
Let's talk to Shruti Bansal. She's the principal freight product manager at Kpler, and I believe that she is coming in from Dubai, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct. Hi, guys.
Now,
Hello.
I've got to show you something really quick. Can you guys throw up that picture? So my son built this about a week ago. It's a Lego model of Dubai. You got Burj Khalifa on there. Does that look pretty accurate to what you see when you go outside?
Yep, pretty accurate.
For people who don't know, the tallest building in the world is in Dubai. It's Burj Khalifa, and it is 2,716 and a half feet.
Yeah.
The Ever Ace, the tallest steamship in the world that we showed you earlier in the show, is 1,300 feet long. So if you took the Ever Ace and you stood it up, and then you took another one on top, it's basically the same size as the tallest building in the world, just to put some perspective on how gigantic these steamship lines are
Yeah,
now.
only two of them, and it reaches the top of that tower.
Sure.
That's huge.
But it takes a lot of energy to move those kind of things. So tell us a bit about what Kepler does.
Okay, so Kepler is a data and analytics company. Our mission is to facilitate efficient and sustainable trade. We primarily focus on commodity flows, like you mentioned, and also all the ocean freight related to those commodities. We focus primarily on oil and gas, as well as dry bulk. And of course, we focus on gas carriers, oil tankers, and dry bulk. So, what we offer are a set of technology based solutions that can help you understand the market a bit deeper, derive commercial decisions based on those information, monitor your competition, and basically achieve more efficiency in your business.
Yeah, so Shruti, welcome to the show. It's interesting to look at these commodities because we look at the maps and we look at the maps of the truck or the ships at anchor, and we're looking
Yeah.
at northeast ports, and there's all these tankers out there. You got oil out there, and you got
Sure.
heating oil, et cetera. What's going on in the commodity market? Are they as backed up as we are as the container shipping is right now?
Yes, I think two key themes we've seen over the last 1 year, and that's also currently what's happening. One is just like containers, we have supply chain inefficiencies, be it terms of how is the fleet moving and how do we have congestion building up, which is delaying movement of commodity flows. And on second hand, we have this global energy crisis that is evolving as a theme, be it the gas shortage in Europe, the power crunch in China, that's driving all the freight prices and the commodity prices up, lower stocks. So those are the two themes that we see come back to us again and again.
Now, what's going on in China right now? It's starting to spook a lot of the shippers out there who, the last thing they want is more factories to shut down and close. We already had to contend with COVID doing that and helping contribute to these backed up supply chains. I know some factories are already being shut down. Some whole provinces are shutting down. They've talked that it could be a coal issue, but I've also heard that it might have something to do with the green initiative that's going on in China as well. What is going on in the commodity market, especially in energy in China right now?
So essentially, because of the green initiative, there is a push to use more and more gas for power generation and other things. But of course, there are supply shortages and it has not been planned properly. So they're running low on stocks. And that's driving, I think just a few hours ago, I read that the LNG Asian prices have hit like again record highs. So, and then what is your fallback option? We talk about green initiatives a lot, but again, because of bad management or just supply not being available there, they fall back on coal. And those two together are driving whatever bull runs that we are seeing in the market right now.
Yeah, so Shruti, in addition to that, is not the government there? They have caps on the cost of energy, right? Which causes some of these energy or electricity to shut down to keep their costs down, right? And that causes some of that rolling blackouts as well, right?
Almost like a blank sailing, but for energy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, China has been known to be notorious like that. They love putting caps, be it in their domestic prices for supplies of energy or in power generation. And that really takes a toll on the commercial operation of these utilities and companies. And yeah,
So how do ship owners use your data? What are they looking at right now?
so I they look it from a market analysis point of view. So what we've done with freight module at Kepler is we are providing a set of supply and demand indicators, very fundamental in that sense. You can go have a look at what are the demand indicators and supply indicators and see what's happening in the market right now, historically, what has happened, and then use that information to predict what can happen. An example would be like today I read that Cape size bulk rates are $80,000 and above. That's the highest we've seen since 2008. And now there are certain factors inside that are driving this. For example, one of the things was congestion building up in China. So we have a congestion analytics, which is again we've built using tech and our human intelligence. And then in just a few clicks, you can go and see how many bulkers or tankers, for that matter, or gas carriers are waiting outside Chinese port right now. How long have they been waiting for? Where are they coming from? And what do they carry? What kind of products? For example, when Australia, China geopolitical issues had emerged, they literally banned all the Australian cargoes to offload. And that's when we saw the congestion build up. So the vessel owners or the people involved in these trades can quickly go access information to look at each and every vessel that's basically being held up of Chinese waters and access those data and see what's happening and incorporate that in their decisions.
So, Shruti, all that makes perfectly good sense. But a question that comes to my mind is geopolitical information and data. Is that not very influential in your space? More so, maybe more so than in other spaces, like just container shipping of e-commerce goods, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what happens. Like there are sometimes you get these rumors that these talks are happening, but then you need access to data to kind of validate that is it having any real impact or not. So that's where we come in. We are able to give that transparency to shipping or commodity flows to for users to go and see is it actually ships from Australia that are getting delayed, or is it, for example, when Suez Canal got blocked? Okay, what is your impact? So even any other geopolitical issue, like when OPEC decided to, I think Q2 last year, they just decided that they're going to produce and supply as much as they want. And we saw the exports ramp up. We saw tanker rates going through the roof, and we saw a lot of floating storage building up. So where can you go and check and validate all these consequences of the geopolitics in terms of your own data and supply and operations? That's where Kepler comes in.
Now you speak of the data, but when you're talking about black swan events, right? And in the time of COVID,
Hmm.
what kind of disadvantage does that put this historical data at? I know with like freight data, it can be really challenging. I mean, you just pull up a sonar chart, and it's very hard to compare one year to the next between
Yeah.
2019, 2020, and 2021, just because of the variance in the market. It can give you occasionally a kind of an inaccurate picture. I would imagine the same has to be on the commodity side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it depends. Yes, the situation is changing, but you see how quickly that situation also fades off. So
Mhm.
you will see these spikes. We are seeing those spikes, but then the next thing is you can actually relate to all these black swan events in the past, and you see immediately right after how the market crashed. So there is benefit in seeing these outliers as well, and then to see when the market has returned back to normal, and then you need to adjust your operations and the way you're doing your business accordingly. So at least it gives you some kind of timeline, some kind of comparison with historical events, and see how you can best manage them.
Well, sure,
But
and the quicker
very
you can collect the
often,
data, right? You have a, you the more you can shorten that view of history in these black swan times,
yeah.
the quicker you can get data in. For
Yeah.
example, like on the freight side, and knowing rate per mile and seeing just
Sure.
the trajectory upwards. You really don't. You need 10 days behind, maybe a week behind, a couple days. Like, but where the 6 months may not necessarily show you much, the quicker you can get that data into the stream, the quicker you can react.
Sure.
Absolutely. And you see it every time. Every time it goes up, it has to take a nosedive. So then you can be prepared. Okay, this market is going to crash. It will return back to normal. And this we see, like, again, when Evergreen got stuck, we saw so many vessels lined up, but then it eventually cleared up in a week's time. So then it was business as usual.
Yeah. So I'm interested, Shruti. What about weather predictions, or et cetera? Right. So reading about China, for instance, they're already having this issue with their supply of energy for heating, et cetera, and it's predicted to be a colder than normal winter, almost an extreme cold, and they've had problems with freezing over there before. Does the commodities market and what you're looking at there react to those type of predictions, or do they just kind of get desensitized after a while?
No, absolutely. I think seasonal weather outlooks are still a key information that the commodity markets and the freight market react to. Of course, we have the winter season ahead of us. We had the forecast coming out, I think, in a couple of days, and everyone is already gearing up, and that's why you see this reaction. And again, you can see it in the data. Depends on which data set you're looking at. But if you're China winter is starting in Q4. Like November, you will start see September, August, a lot of these off takes happening, a lot of these deals happening. Or let's say it's the hydropower generation in Q2 in China as well. So just before that, they'll start looking at the precip, the Indian monsoon. So it definitely plays a very vital role. And I don't think anyone has been desensitized to it, especially now that we see the weather outlooks becoming more and more unpredictable, both on short and long term basis. So I think, if anything, they are paying more attention to this.
Well, if it really is going to be a colder than normal winter and there really might be some sort of energy shortage
Yeah.
or rates get really expensive, you better go out and get a jacket and a sweater before those are out of stock too, Michael Vincent. Those are going to be gone soon enough as well.
Yeah,
Get
and then
yourself
you got to
that-
contact Shruti to know what to do with your commodities and when to ship them.
Exactly. Well, Shruti, thank you so much for joining us on here. Are you hopeful, though? Are you hopeful for what's going on in energy, or should we be concerned?
I think it's very hard to predict. We are still trying to wrap our heads around it, but it's a cycle. It goes up, it will come down. We will find a solution, and I think we will go back to normal.
Well, thank you, Shruti.
Excellent.
I
Thank you.
appreciate your
I'm
optimism.
hopeful.
Here's a little bell for you. A little bell for optimism. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That ticker was about to go.
Yeah.